So today we're going to do part 2 of solving using substitution. So here we have the problem, the system m equals 4t and m plus t equals 375 describes a situation where Michael drove 4 times further than Tiffany and together they drove 375 miles. This part where it says Michael drove 4 times further than Tiffany is represented by the first equation, m equals 4t. The second equation, together they drove 375 miles, means if you take Michael and Tiffany's distance and add them together, it equals 375. So we're going to be using the substitution method to answer this. In order to do that, we have to find one equation that has a variable that is isolated. Isolated means that it is by itself. So out of the two equations written, it's going to be the first one that has been isolated. The m is by itself. M equals 4t. So we're going to do step 1 and combine the two equations into one equation with just one variable and solve for that variable. So in this case, we're going to take this 4t and we're going to replace it in for this variable m in the second equation. So our new combined equation becomes 4t plus t equals 375. Now that means that we only have one variable left. Four t plus 1t, if it helps you can put the invisible 1 in front, becomes 5t equals 375. Then to get the t by itself, we divide both sides by 5, and we get the answer of 75. That 75, we're going to jump down to step 3 where it says write your answer as a sentence. T represents Tiffany. Tiffany drove 75 miles. Now we need to solve for our other variable, our m, to figure out how far Michael has driven. Now it's up to you on which equation you want to use. So you can either use the first one or the second one. I'm going to choose the first. M equals 4t. You could have chosen m plus t equals 375. So m equals 4t. We know that t equals 75. So I'm going to take that 75 and I'm going to replace it in for the t in that equation. So m equals 4 times 75. 4 times 75 gives you 300. So m equals 300. So filling in the rest of step 3, write your answer as a sentence. Michael drove 300 miles and Tiffany drove 75 miles. Now if we go back, we can double check it. 300 plus 75 is 375, which is the answer to our second equation. All right, problem number 2. The system h equals b plus 5 and h plus b equals 29 describes the ages of Henry and Beverly this year. Henry is 5 years older than Beverly, and the sum of their ages is 29. So we're going to take the information. They have given us the equations, but it is good to confirm that we know where we're getting it from. Henry is 5 years older than Beverly. That is represented by the first equation. Henry is 5 years older than Beverly. Now we're going to take the second equation. The sum of their ages is 29. Sum means addition. So when we add Henry and Beverly's ages together, that gives you a total of 29. So we're going to use this information to help us solve, to figure out how old is Henry and how old is Beverly right now. So first we need to go back and figure out which equation has a variable that is isolated, as a reminder, isolated means by itself. So that first equation has the h isolated. H equals b plus 5. So I'm going to take that b plus 5 and I'm going to replace it into the h into the second equation. Again, we are substituting, just like in sports or activities when we're taking someone out and putting someone else in. This becomes b plus 5 plus b equals 29. We do want to combine our like terms. So this is b plus b plus 5 equals 29. So this is 2b plus 5 equals 29. Subtract 5 from both sides. We get 2b equals 24. And lastly, divide both sides by 2 to get the b by itself, which would be 12. So that means that Beverly is 12 years old. Now we need to go back and we need to solve for Henry's age. Again, doesn't matter which equation you choose. I'll go with the first one. Henry equals Beverly's age plus 5. And we know that Beverly is 12. So I'm going to take this 12 and plug it in for our b. H equals 12 plus 5. So H equals 17. So that means that Henry is 17 years old. Okay. You could also write this as an ordered pair of 12, 17. Okay. Let's move on to the next problem. You'll flip it over to the next side. Number 3 through 6. All the directions are the same. Solve the systems using substitution. So we're going to solve and start problem number 3 off with which equation has an isolated variable? Is it the first or the second? It's going to be the first because the a is by itself. So I'm going to take this b plus 2 and I'm going to plug it into the a into the second equation. That leaves you with b plus 2 plus 5b equals 20. So I want to put my like terms together, b and 5b. That gives me 6b plus 2 equals 20. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. 6b equals 18. Divide both sides by 6. And you get b equals 3. Now, when in doubt, if you're not sure which variable comes first, think about the alphabet. So if you have a and b, it'll be a comma b. So if we solve for b, it's going to be something comma 3. Because we know what our first value is for our variable, the letter b, we can use that to solve for a. It doesn't matter which equation you choose, first or second. I'm going to use the first one. A equals b plus 2. I know that b equals 3, so a equals 3 plus 2. So the a equals 5. So the answer to this system with substitution is 5 comma 3. All right, we're going to skip to number 4 now. Start by deciding or determining which equation has an isolated variable. It's the second one. the x. And what does x equal? X equals 8y. So I'm going to take that 8y and I'm going to plug it in for x. So 8y minus 5y equals 6. I know I did that correctly because I only have one variable, which is the letter y left. 3y equals 6. Divide both sides by 3. You get y equals 2. Because I have the variables x and y, I'm going to put that 2 in for my second value because that is the y value. Okay. Now I'm going to take the y equals 2 and plug it back into one of those two equations. This time I'm going to choose my second one because that one looks less complicated. So x equals 8 times 2. X equals 16. So that means that the solution to the system of equation is 16, 2. Let's try number 5 now. Which equation has the variable by itself? Think about that for a moment. Highlight which one. Hopefully you highlighted the first one. The y is isolated. So we're going to take this x plus 3 and we're going to place it all in for that y. So that gives you 5x plus 3 plus x equals 9. I'm going to put my like terms together on the left side. 6x plus 3 equals 9. Get rid of 3 from both sides. 6x equals 6. Divide both sides by 6. We get x equals 1. Go ahead and read my ordered pair off to the side. Now we got to solve for our unknown y. Doesn't matter which equation. I'll choose my first one. Y equals 3 plus x. We know that x equals 1. So I'm going to take this 1 and plug it in for here on the at x. Y equals 3 plus 1. So y equals 4. So your ordered pair is 1, 4. All right, let's try number 6. Looking at the two variables, try to determine which one is isolated. Hopefully you highlighted the first equation. Y equals x minus 1. So I'm going to take this x minus 1, I'm going to plug it in for this y value. X plus x minus 1 equals 7. Let's put our like terms together of x and x. That gives us 2x minus 1 equals 7. To get the 2x by itself, to isolate it, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. 2x equals 8. Divide both sides by 2 and you get x equals 4. Okay, now we need to finish solving this by plugging our 4 in to one of these equations for the x to get our answer for the y. I'm going to choose the first equation, y equals x minus 1. X equaled 4, so that's going to replace our x in the original equation. Y equals 4 minus 1, so y equals 3. So for number 6, the ordered pair should be 4, 3. Try number 7. And see what you get as your solution. You want to figure out which equation has at least one variable isolated. These are like the problems that we did yesterday in class, where both of them happen to have the y isolated. When they're both isolated, that just means that you can take all of the right side from the first equation and plug it in for the y in the second equation. 5x plus 4 equals 3x minus 8. This next step is up to you on which one you want to start with for simplifying. I was saying in class yesterday, I like to get my x's on one side to begin with. 2x plus 4 equals negative 8. I'm going to bring this up so I can have more space. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. That'll give me 2x equals negative 12. Divide both sides by 2. We get x equals negative 6. There we go. There's our x. We need to solve for a y. In order to get that, we need to pick one of the two original equations. This time I'll do the second equation. Y equals 3x minus 8. I'm going to replace x with negative 6. So y equals 3 times negative 6 minus 8. So y equals negative 18 minus 8. The two negatives make it to where you're going to add those two, so that would be a negative 26. So negative 6, negative 26.